Every morning, I have an automation that sends a text to my wife showing her all the meetings that I have for that day and any kind of reminders we might need for shared tasks or errands. This has really helped us with a lot of back and forth throughout the workday, especially because we both work from home and we actually share an office space. So, trying to figure out who's going to be on a meeting when and who might need focus, quiet time to get some work done has really helped us to have these texts to understand the other schedule a bit better. I'm going to show you how to build the automation with iOS shortcuts, but you could probably do something similar with Zapier or some other third-party automation tool. So there's two types of automations when it comes to iOS shortcuts. You actually have something called automations, and these are going to be things that can automatically run based on some trigger, whether it is the time of day or you receive a certain text or notification. But then you actually have a library of shortcuts. And I always start my automations by building a shortcut because you can't actually share any automations. You can only really share these little shortcut actions. So this way, if I want to make changes or share it with my wife, I can still share the shortcut and not have to rebuild the entire automation from scratch. So we're going to go to the library tab and hit plus. And then the first thing we're going to do is search for calendar. And we're going to select find calendar events. We're doing this every workday, so we're going to set the start date to is today. Now, if you have a pretty simple calendar or you're trying to pull as many events as possible, you may not want to add these filters, so feel free to customize it. But the only thing I have is basically choosing the calendar from my work account. So we're going to go to calendar is, and then we're going to choose that calendar there. This is my work email. I'm also going to add a filter for the number of attendees. So we're going to say number of attendees is greater than 1. This is because I often block out focus sessions or tasks within my work calendar for myself, just so that people don't schedule during that time. But that is not necessarily a meeting, and I'm not going to be talking to another person. So I found filtering by the number of attendees is pretty much always going to work when I'm trying to just target the actual meetings that I have. Next, we're going to pull a repeat function. We're going to choose repeat with each. Then we're going to grab a text action and drag that inside of the repeat function. Then we're going to add two variables for the start and the end date. And we can either just tap in here and swipe until we find repeat item. Another way to select variables in shortcuts is to hit the select variable, and then you can just scroll up and choose the specific one you want. The key here is to actually tap on the item, and we're going to scroll down to start date. And then at the bottom, because we're filtering everything for the day, we can just go ahead and turn off the date format. And if you're happy with the time, you can leave it to short, or you can customize that however you want. And then we're just going to repeat that, and I'm going to add a hyphen in here and just add the repeat item one more time. And this time we're choosing the end date, and I'll turn off the date as well. So essentially what we've done here is listed all of the events with those filters from our calendar, and then we've broken out for each event a simple text block that just lists the start and end time. The reason is because if we just found all of the events from the calendar block, that's not a very readable format that we can put inside of a text, and so we're basically just pulling all of that data and writing one line for each meeting. Now I also have a section of the text that's going to pull any reminders from my to-do app. I use the Things 3 app for all of my to-dos, but this will work with pretty much any app, especially the built-in reminders. So I'll show you how to do the built-in reminders as well as the Things flow in case you happen to use that app as well. So for Things, you're going to type in Things and then scroll down to Find Items. We're going to filter by the start date of today. Now I only wanted to pull tasks that have the tag with my wife's name on it. So we're going to add another filter, select the tags, contains, then you want to type the tag exactly how you have it in your to-do app. So in this case, it's my wife's name, so it's going to pull all of those tasks with my wife's name only if it's marked for today. Now really quick, if you're doing this with reminders, you're going to go to the reminders, select find reminders, also going to add a filter where the due date is today. Add a filter with the tag contains, and you would write it there as well. Now, I almost always have at least one meeting every day, but I don't always have reminders that we need to get shared. So to handle both scenarios, we're going to add an if statement below the tasks reminders. So search for if, it's going to add that below the tasks, and we're going to leave it set to if type, and where it says is, tap on that and change to has any value. So essentially, if any results come up from that search query for our reminders, then we're going to send a text with all of the information, and then we'll build a separate text if there's no tasks. We're going to add another text block. You can tap and hold that, and we're going to drag that inside of the if block. And then here's where we're going to list all the meetings and all the tasks. So within the text, we're going to type in an emoji. We'll just pick something like calendar. We'll say meetings. And then we're going to scroll over and select repeat results. So that's going to pull all of the meetings that we listed and broke out by the start and end time up here. And then below that, we can create another emoji for tasks. Look for check. And I usually call this like team memo or something a little more fun. And then we're going to select the items. Then let's add a send message action after the text. It's automatically got the text, and then we just need to select who we want to send it to. So I'll put my wife's name. Of course, you could also set this to just text yourself. You could even have it email or send a Slack message. And that's another benefit of having the text note is if you even wanted to send a text and an email and a Slack message, you just have to keep pasting the text result rather than rebuilding that entire output. Now we're going to tap and hold that text option and hit duplicate. And then we're going to drag the top text block, not the middle one. And I'll explain why in a second. Just tap and hold that and scroll down to otherwise and drop it in there. The reason we dragged the top one is that the send text action is just going to grab whatever the immediate result is above it. So we didn't want to mess with that. And then underneath the duplicate here for otherwise, we can delete items here and just change the message to something like no reminders. So if things doesn't find any tasks due today with that tag, then it's just going to send the list of meetings and it's going to say there's no tasks. We also just have to add the other action to send the text. Just drag and drop this. And we'll drag and drop that inside the otherwise as well. Click into the message there and just delete the old variable and then tap text again, and it should automatically link to the one above it. That's pretty much it for the automation. As you can see, it's pretty simple, and you could certainly customize this by adding things like the weather, getting newsfeed updates, social updates, whatever you want. It's pretty simple to mess around with once you get the basic structure, but this is definitely one of those quality of life automations that have actually made a difference. My wife also has ADHD, and she has a pen and paper system that works really well for all of her notes and task tracking, but every now and then she'll ask me to text her to remind her to do something. And rather than just doing that, I can add it straight into my to-do app where all of my other reminders go, and then she'll get a text in the morning reminding her to do that. We also have very different schedules. She's not in meetings. She teaches fitness classes in the evenings. I am working from home and on a lot of back-to-back meetings often. And so it's just saved a lot of back and forth with us trying to figure out who's doing what and when. I think also when you have shared projects and responsibilities, at least like we do, it's really great to get that friendly reminder in the morning rather than having to use another tool or ask each other the same question about who's in meetings and who needs to do what. It all just kind of flows into one system. That's been it. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll include free links to download the Things variation as well as the Apple reminder shortcut so you can check those out. Hopefully saves you some time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.